Welcome to Water Bar. Water is all we have. We're not serving Flint water today, but if we were, I know you all would have a lot of questions about that. Is it safe to drink? How do we know? If the problem has been there for quite a while, as it has, how come we're only hearing about it right now? And importantly, what can we do as people who live in a city? If this is something that's facing us as professionals, what can we do? I'm a public artist, and one of the things that I create is actually questions, and also ways of asking and answering those questions in public. So here's a question: can we drink the Mississippi River? You may not know this, but if you live in Minneapolis or St. Paul, you do drink the Mississippi River every day. That's actually the source of our tap water. Many people don't know that. I didn't know that, actually, before I began asking this question. The way that I chose to answer this question as an artist was to actually start a water bar and to ask my friends who are scientists in environmental science, public health, other fields to help bartend. And the reason that we did this was that way people could come up to the bar and ask those questions, and the folks behind the bar, like at a real bar, would have something to say about those waters and the sources of those waters. So that's what Water Bar is. Water is all we have. It's also a space to generate conversation. So we don't just teach about water, we actually ask questions and then have a conversation about it with the folks who come through. This is a project that we really began as a pop-up, much like what you see over here. And over time, we experiment. And we experiment in collaboration with those researchers and also with the communities we work with. So here's one version of the Water Bar that we did in Greensboro, North Carolina, working with the Greensboro Water Department to help people connect their tap water with watershed thinking. In Greensboro, they wanted folks in the community to understand that when they drink water, they're actually drinking the landscape, in a sense, and to understand those connections. And so we worked with them as artists to become performers. They go behind the bar, they have those conversations, and they learn things too. Another version of the bar that we've done is a more durational piece that we had in a museum. This is the lobby of an art museum in Arkansas. And we had this water bar open in that museum for about 6 months. And in that 6 months, we served 3 waters from 3 very different communities around this museum. An urban community that's developing quickly, a suburban community, and a rural community. And instead of having professionals bartend, we actually worked with a cohort of students, and they were purposefully cross-disciplinary. So we had architecture students, public health students, environmental students, natural resource students, and they went out into the community to collect the water that they then served at the museum. And in the process of doing that, they actually got to know the water system in a very different way than most of us do. Most of us don't see behind the scenes the infrastructure that supports us through this water. And so here's an example of the students actually meeting a water utility operator in one of these rural communities and learning that the infrastructure there is completely crumbling. They then had to bring that water from that community back to a museum where many of the patrons were very wealthy and serve them that water. And what they also served them then was the story of that community. So in the 6 months that we had this exhibition at this museum in Arkansas, we had about 25,000 people come through and sample tap water and talk with these students. And if you can imagine that experience as a water bartender, and they were paid to do this, it was a paid position for them, they actually learned quite a lot about how to engage the public with really complicated systems questions. And they had all kinds of stories that came to them as they did this. Some of the stories from Water Bar customers were quite interesting. So here's one of our customers. President Clinton came through. It was in the museum we were at was the Walmart Museum, people call it, Crystal Bridges. And so they actually got to meet not only people from the community who were operating these crumbling infrastructural systems, but also some of the people who were profiting in that community. So down in the corner is one of the Waltons, one of the richest people in the world. So water really does connect all of us. Where we're at now with the project is that we continue to do it as a pop-up. So if any of you are interested in having Water Bar come to an event in your community, we're always happy to try to figure out how to do that. We would want to train you as bartenders, which can be fun. Another thing that we're thinking about now is that we've been doing this for a while in lots of different places. We would really like to have a Water Bar here in the Twin Cities that is a permanent space that people can come in, learn about water, students can learn about how to engage the public, and we can create art together that kind of spins out of that. So if you're interested in connecting, this is our information. We're also on Twitter, and we would love to hear your thoughts about the project or about the waters that you're tasting today. So thank you.